Yeah. Let's see. Hello, people. It's Philipp Druzhinin, Mike Ferreira.
Hello, everybody.
Yep, I'm gonna turn off. Just wanted to monitor if everything's okay. Yeah, I can see myself. Everything's working. So, as I've promoted in last several videos, we were planning to chat with Mike and talk about recent news and recent information that he's sharing in his group, Ancient Mind and Earth. You might as well subscribe to that group. The link is in the description, as always, or you can find it easily on Facebook if you put Ancient Mind and Earth in search. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Have you been shadow banned by search of Facebook or something? Have you monitored that?
Well, I've had a lot of people tell me that they've, in this search box on Facebook, they will type in the words "Ancient Maya Earth" and they won't find me. So, I mean, it does feel like I'm being censored in a very extreme way.
Well, anyways, guys, you can always find a link under the videos that we do with Mike, and we do them pretty much like one in 2-3 months. So, pretty much all the news, all the information. There recently he is being on work under his investigation. I would say, Mike is always ready to present it. So I know you have a bunch of new stuff to talk about, but I think you have something to say about that video that I was making recently about that monastery, so-called monastery in a melted mountain.
Yeah, I watched that the other day, and I have to agree with you. It is not a melted building. I don't think any of these places that people claim are melted buildings are actually melted buildings. Um, if you want to share my screen there,
Yep.
I'll uh, I'll show you something I put together. Um, the mountain itself that this structure is built into is is a cave. You can, if you look closely at it, you can see stalactites hanging off the side of it, and this monastery structure was built into those openings there. They put material or bricks or whatever, stones or whatever that stuff is, and built that into the side of that cave. So we'll just look at a couple pictures here. And it's maybe kind of hard to see. You might have to zoom in and to really see it, but those are stalactites hanging down.
Yeah, we see the pattern.
Wait, those are the wrong pictures.
So
What?
they might disagree, saying, "Look, we're saying it was melting, it was flowing down, like you showing, you're proving it's melted." What you can say about that?
Well, if something's dripping down, it would kind of, I would imagine it would be a single drip and it would kind of maybe look like a dripping candle. But if you look closely at stalactites, you'll see they have a really kind of a weird shape to them. A lot of them do. They're almost like a plant leaf curled up. There's a curl to them, and like an ear, almost like a pointy ear of a pig or something. It's kind of got a concaveness to it, and if you look closely, you'll see that exact same features in that mountain. And that's why I think it is a cave. Now, when I say cave, like what is a cave? Like the caves
Well, it
that
sure is official confirmed it's a cave. Yeah, I've been saying that they researched that cave system. They call it Tishta or something, and all
okay,
this cave system is one of the longest in Europe, with including all these hydraulics. If you watch the video, the officials confirm that they even dived there and so on. So
yeah. Well, for me, there's different kinds of caves. The caves that we normally think of are karst caves, limestone like caves, and in the side of this mountain, are there path? Could there be path? Because I don't know that I've actually seen a video or anything going inside this particular place there. But if there are passageways in there, then it's basically just a cave that we all think of, an opening that goes into the ground or into the side of a mountain. But the point here with this is the whole mountain itself is part of the cave, that like right in front of, like if you could imagine in front of where they built this monastery, there's a giant metal fulgurite that ran along the side of that mountain, and it was removed. And the side of that mountain was the wall of the cave. And the places in this mountain that they call caves are just more like little offshoots where the electricity discharges into that material and just basically makes a hole. But the real cave is the cave that you don't really see there, and because it's been removed.
Okay.
If that makes sense. When the metal is being made in the ground, the ancient miners were electric miners, and they made metal in the shape of lightning bolts. And when the metal that they made in the ground was not made in the ground that we think of today. This metal was not made inside of rocks. It wasn't made inside of the ground that we sort of think about today. It was made in the original ground of the earth, which was more of a soft material, a material that had different components in it. And then when it was electrically discharged, this material morphed, interacted with each other, and then hardened into metals and minerals and rocks. And when this discharge happens in the fulgurite, the metal fulgurite is being made, it is made inside of a cave. There would be a cave wall on all sides of it. And then to mine that out, they would remove the roof of this cave and go down in there and start removing the fulgurite. And if you remove the cave ceiling and then the top part of the cave walls, what you have left is mountains and canyons. And that's what we have here. This mountain is the remnant of a cave that once contained a giant metal fulgurite.
Yeah, so we just look at it as not as a melted building, but as a part of some huge, physical construction which was created and hardened after the electric mining, and then it was scrapped from some certain side, and then they start to mine that metals that they were creating, right?
Yeah, but this metal was in giant pieces, miles long. It wasn't kind of like what we think of when we think about mining metals, where
So how did they extract it then? I can see how
well,
they extract it with the when with the opening, but how did they go deeper?
well, they would have had to have had some type of cranes that, well, they would have had to cut the pieces up into manageable pieces, and then they would have lifted it up out of the channel that was in.
Well, they say that those caves are like 2-3 meters in width and up to 15 meters in height.
Well, that's why I think I said earlier, there's more than just one kind of cave. The cave that we think of as caves that have stalactites that you can see and you can walk in there, like Carlsbad caverns or like the caves in Missouri and places like that. There was no metal made in those caves. Those were the metal was made in what was the cave on the outside of this monastery. The little offshoots of caves that go into the mountain are just discharges that went into material that was already in the process of hardening, that didn't have any of the raw materials needed to make the metals, if that makes sense.
Well, that makes sense, by the way, because Caucasus is very big area, and this is just one side of it. It's side closer to the Black Sea, actually. So Caucasus is like a very huge, 550 meters high mountains. So it's like
Yeah.
little bigger than Rockies, I believe. But they not as big as Himalayas and stuff. Anyway, so
Stop. I got a barking dog going on.
if we think about this, all these mining areas, all these Black Seas is a big quarry, and Abkhazia is on the side of the Black Sea, so could actually be the mining area. Why not?
Well, I would suggest that every square inch of the world is a mining area. Every place you can go was once a quarry. Everywhere you could walk or climb was either the floor of the quarry, material piled up on the floor of the quarry,
I mean,
or
if you do a quarrying like a sea type of quarrying, like when you see all this on the picture that I'm showing here, when you see this rotor excavation, like you see all this quarrying gonna be deep, so you have to put all this waste somewhere, and
yeah,
then you creates all these stockpiles of mud and stuff like this, which you can also discharge and collect the metal from there, so
yeah,
you can reuse your byproducts
yeah,
in some different
yeah.
ways of extraction, because rotor excavation is like one way of extraction of very big concrements, for example. But if you want to process all this mud, as you've been saying, you're not certain what was, but it was rather soft, so mud could be that process, mud from underneath those quarries, and then they dump it all the way to these mountains, like all we know today is mountains, but and they extract it from electric discharge all other metals, so kind of group them into those fulgurites while discharging them, collecting them from this mud, I would say.
Well, the metals that they made were all in basically like a one big piece, sort of, and they would have quartz and other material attached to them. I use the word quarries, but the word quarries is really misleading when it comes to what the ancient miner quarries really look like. We think of quarries as a big hole in the ground that we're digging out with big excavators and machines, and that's not what the ancient miners did. What they did was pull pieces of metal, giant pieces of metal out of the ground shaped like lightning. And when you pull, if you let's pretend it's day one and they make their first lightning or their first metal fulgurite in the ground. What's it going to look like? Well, it's not going to look like much because it's going to be under the ground. So they go where they started the lightning bolt at, and they start removing the top, and they see the metal in there. And they start removing the top of the areas that have the fulgurite under it. And then when they remove the top, what do you got in there? You got a metal petrified lightning bolt, really, like laying right under the surface, right? So if they go in there and they remove that, what do they have afterwards? Well, you got a channel in the shape of a lightning bolt, right? You
Yeah.
don't really have a quarry. You don't have a hole that you're digging out. You just dug a hole in the shape of a lightning bolt. And then what they do is the areas that didn't have the lightning would be the spaces. For example, at least part of it would be like the spaces that were between the branches, and what those spaces would look like would be a mesa, right? Can you visualize that?
Yeah, kind of.
Here, let me pull up a picture here, and
Okay.
let me see if I can better explain this. All right, this is a very large. This is like a one of a kind lightning fulgurite. It's in a museum in Indiana or Ohio, I forget where, and it's laying on a floor. But let's pretend that this thing's giant and it's miles long and it's under the ground, right under the ground. And let's pretend that you dig this giant piece of metal out shaped like this. And once you do that, what you're going to have is a channel where the metal was, where the fulgurite was. And then what you're going to have in the middle of these things, you're going to have a mesa shaped like the space between the branches of lightning. And
Like
then,
this. Let me show you the picture quick. because people wanted me to show you. We call it you call it Monument Valley, and those big things that you know they could be those things that are left after the extraction of the soil from the ground.
Monument Valley, the landforms that stick up out of the ground there, those are the walls. Those are remnants of the walls of the caves that contain the fulgurites.
Okay.
Most of the walls are all long gone. Only just a small percentage of them are there, right? There would have been those rock landforms all over the place, and they just, for whatever reason, decided to leave some of them here and there for our enjoyment, give us a place to go to have a vacation.
Well, the guys who sold the soil during after World War One, during World War Two, they were sending, cutting soil and sending it to Europe from Russia. They were selling the soil, and so they left those little monuments, like you say, on the Monuments Valley, just to measure how much the volume was when the field is done, so they can calculate how much soil they left. So they left those little height level monuments of soil just to keep track of what they were selling and how much. Okay.
Okay. Uh,
In cases of mining, that could be also mark of how much material was taken out from the certain area, and the
yeah, I,
levels is keep
yeah, I
always
think
kept.
the height of those things tells us things. I think it tells us the how deep each level was. I think the last time I tried to figure that out, I come up with about 2,000 feet for each level. And but sometimes it's hard to tell because is the ground there? Is that the floor of the quarry, or is that the floor of the backfill material that was put in the very bottom of the quarry? And so sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, each place you would have to do an independent investigation to see what you're really looking at.
What,
Um,
what about the picture you're showing with this
oh yeah, let's
video?
get back to that. Okay, so they make the metal and they pull the metal out in the shape of lightning, and then they have channels in the shape of lightning left, with mesas in between those channels that are shaped like the spaces of lightning. And then they repeat the process on each one of those spaces, like this one here that looks like a big hockey stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they would do is they would use an electron accelerator in the dome, and they would jack up the voltage of that piece of ground by millions of volts, and then they would discharge that built up electricity in that plot of land, and another metal fulgurite would be made underneath the ground. And then they would repeat. Here, wait a second. I think I got something a little. Let's look at this. Okay, so then the second round would be where I put the red lines in there. So they make another metal fulgurite inside that mesa that they created the first time, and then they go in and they pull out the metal up and out of there. And then what do you got left? Even more mesas, but these mesas have gotten smaller, right? And so they keep discharging each one of these mesas until they get too small that they don't want to mess with them anymore. Like say down in the area here where I put the blue ones, like the third level of making the metal. When they get down to where the mesas are too small that they don't want to do them anymore, they either take them down to the ground, or those are the things that become Monument Valley and the other types of things that we see.
Yeah.
Buttes,
Okay.
mesas.
What about this circle in center? Like no, to the left from those red lines. Yeah, this big one.
Well, the same thing would happen there. They would make another round of metal fulgurites inside that shape, cut them out, do it
So
again.
if you imagine all those coming out rivers right now, and this center is a huge sea or lake or something where all those rivers go to. What about that?
Well, let's take this area here where I put the red ones in there. Let's pretend they go all the way and do all the blue ones, and then they ground, and it's all gone. They do the ground again, and they could even go deeper if they wanted to. Where the original fulgurite was, that would be where your train tracks are going. Your train track would go around that would be your quarry. And inside that quarry, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Keep making the metal, keep hollowing out, keep going deeper, keep doing it. And eventually they get to where they stop. And then what do you have left when they're done there? You got a big hole shaped like that hockey stick. Now, what could they do with this big hole? Well, they could backfill it with material. They could put mining waste. They could put mining slag in there and fill it all the way back up to the top. And then what could they do? Plant grass over the top of it and it becomes farmland. Or in this big hole that they made, they could fill it with water and call it a lake.
I bet it would be easier to fill it with water because
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
be filled by itself. Nothing gonna,
yeah,
actually, it's gonna be a hard job to keep the water out from the big hole.
yeah.
Actually,
Or they could, fill it with mining waste all the way back up to the top and then put sand on top of it and call it a desert.
for sure.
Now the area around the fulgurite where I said they would put the railroad tracks, those are what becomes the borders of countries. That is where the borders of countries come from, is from the shapes of these original quarries that they had.
I would say no, not exactly countries, but the regions. Which country could be puzzled up and grow, swallowing those regions by regions and growing and growing and growing, right? So the base elements are some type of districts, or I would say states, or we call it in Russia, we call it regions,
Yeah. Well,
counties. We can call it
yeah,
counties too.
yeah. Well, there's no, every place is a little different. I'll just say political boundaries and things are the shapes of quarries. Some political boundaries are the shapes of not just one quarry, but 100 combined, right? But no matter what the boundary is, it's usually the shape of the space within a lightning bolt. Now, the shapes of the spaces within lightning, no two look alike because no two lightning bolts would look alike, but yet everything still looks like lightning. There's certain characteristics to the shapes of these spaces, and if you take time to look at it, you'll see there's a lot of nuances to them. And you'll see these nuances in everything: the shapes of lakes, the shapes of countries, the shapes of states, the shapes of continents, the shapes of deserts, the shapes of all kinds of things come from the shape of the quarries, which were shaped like lightning, of course. Where were we? Oh, we never did talk about your mountain. Oh, yeah, we did do that, didn't we?
Yeah, we just understand the principle, and so the mountain is just the crust of one of those caves that was created, right?
Yeah, it's basically a cave wall. That's what it is.
Okay.
Did we want to talk about some volcanoes today?
Yeah, you can might as well do that because I'd like to see what you are up to with volcanoes. Actually, you've been posting a bunch of posts on La Palma, right?
Yeah,
All those comparison would be neat to watch.
yeah. Because I don't remember, Philip. Have we ever talked about volcanoes before?
We probably slightly touched. I was saying about terracones. You probably said something about
Yeah,
volcanoes, and
I
I
was kind
said,
of thinking that was about all we ever
yeah.
talked about. Volcanoes is a very interesting discussion and debate. but it's quite long and it's quite complicated because there's a lot to it. It's kind of like flat Earth and determining whether the Earth is flat or not. There's 1,000 different things you got to look at before you can reach a conclusion. And the same thing, the same thing with volcanoes. There's a lot to it. There's so many different things to look at, and how do you prove that all of that is fake, right? And when I say fake, I'm not saying that when you see a volcano that what you're seeing is not happening. I'm just saying that volcanoes are not natural. They're not magma from inside the earth heated by the sun and getting hot and coming out of the ground. There's something totally different. I don't know how far, because I got 1,000 exhibits in this in my volcano folder here, so I don't think we could look at all of it.
So let's just do whatever you say.
Let's just kind of zip through this a little bit. One thing everybody wants to know is why would they fake volcanoes? Why would you do that? Well, they fake volcanoes for a number of things, and one of them is to get you to believe that you live on a ball in space, and that inside this ball in space there's this magma, and this is how the Earth works, right? So it's part of this trickery of trying to get you to think you live on a ball orbiting the sun when we don't. They also fake volcanoes to cover up the metal processing sites, because those areas look like crap, and so that's where they'll put the volcanoes. And they also use volcanoes to explain rocks. When you think about the different kind of rocks, igneous and metamorphic rock and sedimentary rock, they use volcanoes to explain the geology of the world. The world was actually built by the ancient miners, so they got to make up these stories to explain the different things that we see, and that's where volcanoes come into play. And of course, they also use it for good old-fashioned fear-mongering, because they love to scare us to death. And
we would say in public relations, it's called cover-up story for for certain brand. If that brand is involved with some unecological activities, which would be revealed and would be very harmful for its company, for its like stock markets, so it would be bad if everyone knew, for example, that Big Pharma is X mining corporation, for example, right?
Yeah,
or something like that. So it's all related to money and to certain flow of mineral resources that could be mined somewhere, and we don't know about it and never knew about it. And so Mike's is supposing, as I was supposing before, that a bunch of ancient people were actually mining the place that we live right now in.
Absolutely. Earth was built to be mined. Earth was built to be mined, and then it was built to be inhabited. And I wouldn't be surprised for another day. I'll tell you a story that they're probably going to be coming back here. All right, let's just take a look at lava. Now, if you look up the etymology of lava, you'll see that it come about allegedly in 1750. And it makes me wonder, well, if there's all these ancient people here and all this stuff going on for all these hundreds and thousands of years, how come no one knew what lava was before? Seems kind of weird. And the bottom here, the picture on the right is a mining waste pile collapse that happened in 1966, where a mining pile collapsed and ran down that hill. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of rain going on at that time, and that was the reason why it collapsed.
It was not only raining, it was kind of heating up, because rain, when it's falling on these piles of coal waste, it's always steaming underneath. Reaction starts to boil up, so it's not only it's the same story as Terracone, by the way.
Yeah.
I know that story. It's in Wales or something.
Yeah, this is in Wales, Aberfan in Wales. Yeah, because coal can catch fire. So, and if you kind of look more into lava, it's supposed to be to fall or slip. That's because it's stuff crumbling down, falling. It's not really it's not
Yeah.
really lava. Uh, let's think they, according to, if you believe any of this in the first place, which I don't, but according to the official story, they mapped the whole world 250 years before they come up with the name of lava. I mean, how's that? You mapped the whole world full of volcanoes and no one knew what the word lava was. They measured the speed of light before they gave lava a name.
What about Pompeo? Like, yeah.
Well, Pompeii never happened. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, they supposed to know about it, right? At
Yeah,
that,
you think they know, right? Hey, what is that stuff? I don't know. We don't have a name
and
for it.
when did they actually excavate Pompeii? It was in 19th century, I believe.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I actually have some stuff on Pompeii that if we get that far today, we'll see it. Even when you look at the words, I always like to research the words and see what the meaning of words are. And there's a lot of clues in the meaning of words. But
1738, 16th century, 17th century. So they're supposed to know about lava, supposed to
yeah,
know about volcanoes.
you think so? You think so? Isn't it interesting that synonyms for slag is words for different kind of volcanic volcano material? Cinder cone, yeah, cinder cones. I mean, the words just are the same for mining and volcanoes. The words cross each other. You can even find articles that'll tell you that slag is basically the same thing as volcanic rock.
Yeah, I was actually invited to chat with Autodidactic and Berserker Bear. We were talking about melted buildings, and I was showing them this picture about slag and how,
Yeah,
yeah, how they producing basalt right now. So it's all can be done literally with instruments and induction stoves that they obtain, like huge stoves which are melting all these rocks and creating them super properties that they can use in pipeline creations and many other things.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And these are durable materials. They are not wearing out like metals. They are
Yeah,
very strong.
they put slag in cement and roads and all kinds of things. Um, well, in the beginning of all this, Philip, I thought all volcanoes were slag heaps. That's what I thought. I thought they were all slag heaps, but I'm now finding they're not all slag heaps. Some are, maybe most of them are, but not all of them. And we'll talk about some of those as we go along here. These are just some examples that I put together of volcanoes that look exactly like mining.
Yeah, that's the area I was talking about, where all these explosions of terracones were in Donbass. Exactly.
Yeah,
Then they started to level them up, so no more explosions will continue.
yeah.
Kamchatka, yeah.
Do they look the same?
Pretty much the same.
I mean, they look pretty close to me.
Guys in the chat, write us. What do you think?
I like this one. I mean, if that's not the same, I don't know what is. Mount St. Helens. We'll talk about Mount St. Helens here in a little bit and how they did it. How's that a volcano, Mount Vesuvius there? I mean, it just doesn't even look right. So lava comes out of that thing and leaves a nice, relatively smooth surface.
Yeah,
Doesn't
Vesuvius is classic.
Yeah, it
Classic.
just doesn't make sense. I mean, how does this one form? So all this volcanic rock and ash come out of a hole in the ground, and it makes a perfect, almost pyramid-looking structure. Look at the sand outside of the pile. You can see it's spotless. There's none of that brown material anywhere. And what color is lava anyway? I mean, does it really look like that? There's no way in a billion years that material come out of the ground could
No, this is
possibly.
this is this is definitely not lava because lava is,
Yeah,
black basalt color.
yeah, that's just as fake can be. And that's a slag heap in Poland there, and it's pretty similar. There's another one. In this volcano, you can see there's a crack and a
Yeah,
partial collapse there,
partial collapse. Yeah,
and you can see this mining pile do the same thing, and it looks pretty similar.
yeah. Did you see me in the videos saying that they were excavating from the side and seeing melted material there, and heated material up to 1500 Celsius degrees.
Yeah,
So
there depending on what's in that mining pile, there could be things in there that people want today, and so
they
they
were
could.
even glowing in the night.
Yeah, I mean, there are like uranium and different kinds of things that are radioactive. And again, this is another one, and this is in Iceland, and you can just see where the volcano, if that's what it really is, it ends right there. How could material come up, magma or ash or whatever they want to pretend it is? How could it come out of the ground and make that and not get anywhere else?
There's a comment: volcanoes erupting looks like thermite welding used to weld railway rails.
Yeah. Now there are a lot. We'll get into this as we go along, but there's a lot of different ways they fake these things, so they're not all the same, and a little bit. And some of these ones I'm going to show you. For me, there's I guess three kinds of volcanoes. You got your waste pile volcanoes, and those could be different kinds of waste. And then you have your electric rock volcanoes, which are basically mountain-like structures that they say, "Oh, this is a volcano. Let's drill a hole in it." And then you have, which is my latest application to volcanoes, is some of these I think are cave formations. And when we run into one here in a minute, we'll talk about that. But looking at these kind of things, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what you're really looking at. Is it a slag heap or is it something else? But whatever it is, it's not a volcano. It's going to be one of those other three choices. But I think predominantly most of them are slag heaps. All right, so we'll just kind of cut through here. And what I find interesting is no matter what the volcano looks like, there's always something that looks just like it. Maybe not quite as big, but looks similar. Even the weirdest shaped volcanoes, you can find something that looks like them.
Yeah.
Right here, I added some smoke in there, right? So you just add a little bit of smoke to a waste pile, cut the top off, and you got a volcano. Even these weird things. My guess would be this Mount Eden there is probably more of a cave electric rock formation versus a mining waste pile. I made that a long time ago. And they just all kind of look the same. Yeah, this cinder cone, is that a cave formation or is that a waste pile? I'm thinking some of them, I'll show you one here in a minute, I think are cave formations. Yeah, we'll just kind of flick through some of these. I mean, look at that.
And if you ask us how do they create these mining waste piles in the modern world, they just direct the dump, and they change the direction of the dump once they dump with certain angle of dump. So they switch an angle and dump it all the way around, and creating these cone type of structures. Or they
Yep.
can do pyramidal with straight walls. They can do anything.
All right, we've looked at enough examples of those. But basically, volcanoes look like mining waste piles. Here's here's some from Hawaii.
Yeah, I agree. Well, those crater type of volcanoes, huge craters like these amorphic craters, could be caves. Why not?
Yeah, here's one. Here's what I was talking about with caves. Some of these could be cave formations. So it's hard to tell because you would have to go in and do an assessment of what each one of these craters is made out of, and kind of go from there. But I'll give you one of those three choices that these things are either piles, electric rocks, or electric cave mountains, or whatever you want to call these things. Let's see
Depends
here.
on the scale which you are researching. If you research huge scale, that could be mining
Yeah.
waste. One could
This,
be craters.
yeah. Uh, this is on the bottom of the ocean somewhere. This is the Earth's largest volcano. And I don't even, does it even look like a volcano? It doesn't really look like a volcano to me, but I like to think out of the box. And the bottom picture there, that's hydraulic mining. That's what it looks like, and where the gold rush was going on in California, those formations there. And isn't it interesting that this is hydraulic mining in Spain? You know, isn't it interesting that these things look alike? That's because the bottom of the ocean was mined. The oceans are thousands of quarries all grouped together where they took them way down deep and just backfilled the whole thing with water. They knew how much land they wanted. The more land you got, the more like kind of like your yard. The bigger your yard, the more you got to mow your yard. They didn't want the whole earth to be land, so it was a lot easier to just fill it with water. And that's why most of the world is water. And this is just a few examples where I took mining piles and I just threw some smoke in there. And you could just use your imagination. And you could just see how each one of these is easily a volcano. All right, let's move on here because we can't do all of these. So let's just skip around here.
Depends on the budget and your CGI edition skills.
Oh yeah. Well, we touched on this a little bit already. A lot of these volcanoes, they got a very defined boundary to them, where you can just see that's a pile sitting there. Lava, how does lava at Hawaii run for 6 miles or whatever, but all of these don't even leave the mountain? It's still there. And if you look at all these things, you'll see that, there's not even a hole in them. You can look at any volcano, almost any volcano, and you won't see a hole in them. And they all have very defined boundaries. How does lava come up out of there and create those ridges like that? And then stop right there. It's impossible. Now, if all this stuff on the flat part of the land is supposed to be lava that come out of there, well, how come the volcano doesn't show any signs that lava come out of the side of it? Wouldn't it have had to run down the side of that mountain to get onto the ground? But yet you don't see anything there. How does the volcano make cliffs around itself? And again, I'll ask, what color is lava anyway? Is it black? Is it white? Is it brown? What is it? Yeah, we looked at this before. Volcano on top, tailings pile on the bottom. Where's the hole that stuff come out of? All right, we kind of looked at that one already, I think. But volcano after volcano, you could just look at them and see that there's nothing going on there. They're just piles that sit there. When they tell you about volcanoes, they maybe show you a picture like what I have here on the right, where they show the lava coming out and shooting in all directions. But yet somehow for this one, all that lava just somehow jumped over there and didn't come off the side at all. It's just all suddenly just transported itself over there. I mean, can you see in that crater any sign that some molten material oozed up out of there? Or does it all look nice and relatively smooth to you? Like right up there. So how did lava get over there? It's because it did it. Again, some of these things could be cave formations like that one there. And the more you look, the more you see there's just no hole anywhere. The only place where there could be a hole is the handful of places around the world where we actually see what we think is lava coming out of the ground. Those are the exceptions to these rules, and we'll talk about that later. But your average ordinary volcano that has an ash cloud every 2 years, where they show you a big ash cloud coming out of it, nothing's going on. All they're doing is taking a laser and they're a laser ablating a hole in the ash. What they call ash is nothing more than microscopic particles of laser ablated rock that's being sucked up into the sky toward the laser.
So, do you have anything on La Palma, current case, where we see all this stuff covered with dust and lava, swallows of houses, crows, like I don't know, like a Chinese partisan guerrilla?
I haven't done a lot there yet. Let's see what I've. Well, if you look at allegedly where the volcano is, in order for the lava to reach way over there, almost to I guess it has reached the water since this alleged picture was taken. How's that lava all yellow colored all the way out there? How's it keeping all that heat going on? Shouldn't it turn at least red by now or black? How's it all yellow? On the right hand side here, this is allegedly scientists from the University at Buffalo, and they have some volcano studies going on there. And this is a lava pour where they melt rock and they pour it down this little chute there. And this picture is 6 feet and 2 minutes later. And so you got to ask, how does lava flow 5 miles when it can't even barely go 6 feet? Now, obviously, they got it rigged to kind of go into that little area they built there. But if you want to see I'll show you the video of that if you want. And let's see. And you can see how much effort they had to put into it to uh, to even make it work. Notice that he increases the tilt. Because the truth of the matter is lava doesn't really flow. Lava, like anything that's melted, is going to harden in seconds. It's going to quickly start to harden.
All this bright yellow is only on the place of the dump. The further
Yes.
movements
Yes, it's
is
impossible for it to be bright yellow 5 miles away. Hell, it can't even go 6 feet without starting to turn black. Because once the material leaves the heat uh, of the foundry device there, heating it up, it starts to immediately cool. And you see where he's got to overdump to get that stuff to really go.
mm-hmm.
Because the truth of the matter is, lava would never flow for miles. It would never, ever do that. And I'm going to explain a little bit here why it actually does. And the reason why it does is because electricity is flowing through that lava, and that's what keeps it hot and what keeps it melting. And that is why lava streams are in the shape of lightning. But basically, that just kind of shows you the lava really doesn't really do anything. No matter what you're melting, it always quickly hardens. All right, where are we at? All right, where does the ash clouds come from? The ash clouds are created by laser ablation from above in the dome. They basically are laser ablating the tops of these uh, mining waste piles or electric rocks or whatever they really are. These are examples of what lasers can do. They basically can drill holes, they can drill round holes, they can kind of do whatever they want. The laser, the DEW, or whatever you want to call it, the directed energy weapon, is in the dome. And they target wherever it is that they want to blow up or want to ablate, I guess. And again, you can look at this volcano here. It's like, okay, where's the hole? Well, this hole here on the right, made by a laser, caused a lot of rock debris to go up into the air. And I said, oh, look, we're having an eruption. It's an ash cloud event. Okay. And then a year later, oh, let's do one over here. And they drill another hole and go, oh, look, this volcano's erupting again. And then for a good show, they put some material down on the bottom of it, like right there. And right there on this one here. And this is where you're shooting lava. I call it the shooting lava effect, where red rock will explode up into the sky for a couple seconds and rain down.
What about direct energy?
Well,
Have you
that's what.
heard? Have you heard about recent case that CNN was talking about, like in August or September, that they were investigating direct energy attacks in Washington D.C. Have you heard about that?
No, I have not heard about that actually.
I can even show you the article fast, really fast, and you continue with your
Okay.
stuff. Let's see. U.S. investigating possible mysterious direct energy attack near White House.
Well,
Federal agencies are investigating at least two possible incidents on U.S. soil, including one near White House at November of last year that appear similar to the mysterious invisible attacks that led to the debilitating symptoms for dozens of U.S. personnel abroad.
well,
And multiple sources familiar with the matter tell CNN that while the Pentagon and other agencies probing the matter have reached no clear conclusions on what happened, the fact that such as an attack might have taken place so close to the White House is particularly alarming. And
Yeah,
yeah, so just
I know that.
interesting situation. So it's really informative that you're saying that they could obtain and create that whatever with these volcanoes via these weapons.
Yeah, that's part of how they do it is to get the ash cloud type of event. They're basically just taking a directed energy weapon and laser ablating a hole in the top of these things. And and if you were to study these real closely and look at pictures over time, what the craters look like, you'll see that they get deeper. That's because they keep drilling a hole in them. And depending on how you format your laser, pulse laser, the different frequencies they can do it, kind of gives you the different kind of shapes of the holes that they can make. That's Crater Lake. It's the volcano. I think they would say it's extinct in Oregon, and that's a laser ablation crater. It's pretty close. Even that ring is in there.
Exactly.
How do you do that? How does lava make a ring?
We have to ask Gandalf he- from Hobbit movie.
We'll talk about rings here in a second. The ring of fire. I mean, look at that. I mean,
Yeah,
does
there we
that?
go with the soft
I mean,
sides.
does that look like lava? How could erupting lava just create such a great sides like that? But a drill would. How come all the places that have a lava pool? How come they're always round? How does that happen? All of these shapes can be matched up to laser ablation, electrical discharge. Again, this is volcano in Mexico. It's like, all right, where's all that lava coming from? And if you just kind of just go, okay, well, let's see, make a whole eruption. 6 months later, drill another hole, another eruption. That's all they're doing. This is what most volcanoes are. They're this kind of style where it's just a pile of something and they're drilling holes in it. Because most volcano eruptions don't have anything red involved in them. I mean, only a handful actually show you some lava or what, people think are lava. This volcano here on the left, hell, it's down to the ground. But chances are, Philip, this is probably a K formation. So a lot of these exhibits I made before I got into all my cave work, which has kind of changed my thinking a little bit on some of these things. How does a volcano look just like the California fires? How does a forest fire create a column of smoke like that? That's because that's a directed energy weapon being discharged on the ground there. Um, we all think of volcanoes looking like that, but the truth is, you never see that. This is what you usually see. And you have to ask yourself, where is the lava? I thought there was lava in volcanoes. How does all this ash get past the lava? Does the lava move off to the side and say, okay, Ash, it's your turn today. We'll move away. And it's your turn to come out. And if that's coming out of magma, how the hell does it look so dry? And how should it be all stuck together? How's that work? It's impossible for dry rock to come out of magma. Impossible. So these are most of your kind of eruptions. Are just what that is that is a laser drilling a big hole in that rock, and the particles that it makes they're microscopic, so it makes it look like a lot more than what it really is.
Yeah, have you seen me showing on my Instagram? I have a microscope of those. Let me just show it quickly. Maybe
Okay.
you haven't seen. Let's see.
Well, while you're looking, Philip, look at this one. I mean, where's all that coming from?
I'm showing my microscope
I see
picture.
it now. Okay.
Do you see? This is the ash from volcanoes, so-called ash.
Yeah.
It's different from real ash that you have from the cigarettes, for example, or
Yeah.
paper. It looks like this, or sharp sides, I would say.
Yeah.
Random sharp sides.
Yeah. Let's call that laser bladed rock. But it's hard to tell what you're really looking at for a lot of things because there's, like if you think about the lava that comes out of Iceland or Hawaii or something, and comparing that to a piece of basalt that didn't come out in that wasn't something we saw come out of a volcano in modern times, are those really the same things? Because I'll tell you that a piece of basalt does not look anything like what we see coming out of Hawaii and Iceland and places because it's not the same material. We'll get into that a little bit as we go on. Underground nuclear test versus a volcano. And how does a volcano, again, erupt in a circle?
Well, circle is connected to, you have to have center of something and the spread of the volume of
Yeah,
explosion, for example, or
yeah.
I would
But
say like
I would expect if there really was a material up below there coming up, that what you would see is a lifting up of the crust of the top, at least, where big pieces of rock would have to lift up off there. That was the floor of the top of that volcano in the first place. But you don't see any of that. You just see dust come up out of it. You don't see cracks open up and things come out of those cracks. You just see dust coming straight up out of there. And I would say that's impossible. Because what these little things are, like where you see that little cloud coming out of there, that's just basically laser ablation going on. Because, even after these things happen, you can look and see there's how could all this material come up out of there, but yet there's always a bottom afterwards. Right? I mean, how many times, this is a very famous volcano, right? How many times has that erupted? And you still can't see a hole. And you can say this virtually for every place. How does Mount Etna look like the California fires? Do you realize how high those flames are going up there in California? I mean, is that thousands of feet?
at least a couple of 100 meters.
Way up there. How does a volcano look? Just like a forest fire. It's because none of these because it's not forest fires and they're not volcanoes. That's just something funny I made. Right? It's the same thing. Same thing. Why do they look a little different? Because in the volcano, the dude's drilling a hole. And the California fires, it's not drilling a hole. They're faking a forest fire. So they're not really drilling a hole because they don't want a big hole in the ground to explode, right? So that's why you don't have as much material up in the sky.
Perhaps the same reaction, but the attack in different materials.
Yeah, so they look a little different. I mean, how does that eruption look exactly like the California fires? Now, in the last few months, I've been getting into looking at clouds, Philip, and I don't know if you've seen any of my work on clouds, but I'll be damned if clouds don't have the shape. Where they are also electrical and have all the same characteristics as rocks. And for people that follow my work, you see I love to put these red circles on everything, and those are the I call those tabs. I call those electrical tabs, and that is a telltale sign of electrical discharge, because you see these things in rocks and all kinds of different things. And this is Mount Etna, and you can see the same thing. And this is just some weird thing there at Mount Etna. I'm not sure what's really going on there, but it sure doesn't look like it should be there. Whatever. Whatever it is, California fires, volcano. Whoops. I mean, they just kind of look the same, don't they?
Yeah, some pattern is visible.
Yeah, and you can even compare Fukushima to the Tao volcano, and it's pretty much the same. Another volcano eruption, Fukushima. 9/11, even the World Trade Center towers destroyed in seconds with the laser. Volcano erupting in seconds with the laser. Again, this is the World Trade Center cloud there and a volcano. And you can see they look very, very much alike. Now, you know, the people that do all these things, they like to mock us. They like to make fun of us. They like to make it look ridiculous. So allegedly, there's this guy's got his camera and he takes a picture of this eruption right here. And just so happens this dude that took this picture just happens to have a penis collection. Isn't that interesting? And again, how does the ash get past the lava? It couldn't. Couldn't possibly do that.
In case with terracones, ash would make sense because they were also saying that, you know, rainwater comes into these, you know, terracones and heating up with this foam, or not foam, but, you know, fume.
Yeah, very much. I could see some explosions possibly at a waste pile, but I couldn't imagine it would look like that though. So that's why I think there's more going on than just that.
Yeah, there's question towards the possible ignition processes of each and every, you know, explosions, and we definitely need to compare them and see what are the patterns. I think you have some patterns here.
Oh well, we'll get into that. I'll show you some different ways. Like I said, there's the various ways they do all this. It's kind of a long story, but I find this one really interesting. That the mushroom cloud doesn't even come from the volcano; it comes from in front of it. How does that happen? It's like, what are these things? World War I looks like a forest fire. Looks like a volcano. Really? Yeah, some of this we don't have time to get into. We'll talk about smoke rings when we're bored. All right, let's talk about Mount St. Helens, because everyone likes to point that one out as being proof that there's volcanoes. Look at Mount St. Helens. Here's some pictures from Mount St. Helens. And there just happened to be, at the moment it erupted, somebody from the government flying over it with an airplane with their camera ready and their finger on the trigger, and they took a picture of the eruption. If you can believe that. Now, there are no videos of the Mount St. Helens eruptions. People think there is, but there isn't. There's a little video-like thing that they put together where they took alleged still images of the 4 or 5 photographers that were in the area that took pictures, and then they morphed these together into a little video clip I'll show you here in a second. But if you look,
why were we calling Mount if that's a volcano?
I don't know, because they're all the same thing. That's why. And there'll be people tell me, oh, there was lava at Mount St. Helens, but there wasn't. You can look at every picture in the world that's related to Mount St. Helens, and you won't see a spot of red in it. This is like I said, the clips, the pictures they allegedly put together.
They made this video show for us.
Yes, this is not a video. This is images they threw together, and then I think they used CGI and kind of helped it out to make it look like what they think it really looked like, right?
Yeah, a little animation.
But if you look at it, it looks like there's a bunch of explosions going off, going in different directions, doesn't it?
Yep. Looks like miners were screwing around.
Yeah. Here in a minute, I'll show you a bit. I'm going to compare that. All this stuff I don't have in perfect order, so some of this stuff is out of order. Somewhere I have the video of this controlled demolition of a mountain in China here that we're comparing this to. And you can see it's basically let's see, where is this video? Oh wait, I'm way off. Oh, here we go. And they say this is a mountain, but I'm pretty sure that's a mining pile. Right there's your Mount St. Helens right there.
Yep, looks like it.
All right, let's go back and look at it one quick time again, right?
That's what those people were actually the witnesses of Terracon explosions. They were telling the same, that huge amount of, wave of heat and fire and not fire, but rocks and sand and all this stuff, just dust.
Right.
Very high speed.
Yeah. And if you compare the two videos, if you put them back to back and play them at the same time, you can see they're really basically the same thing. Now they talk about all these millions of tons of ash, but when I look at it, I don't see it.
That was on the Mount St. Helen?
Yeah, this is Mount St. Helens. What I see is a bunch of trees laying down. I don't see 540 million tons of ash. I see open ground out there. But yet all this...
It looks like Tunguska case. We also had these trees.
Absolutely.
In the same direction.
And I'm going to compare this to Tunguska here in a second, actually. Hey, look at these trees. All right. We all know what happens with a tree in a storm. It'll bend, right? But then it always goes back to normal, right? But if it gets blown over too much, the tree could break, right? And then it's not going to pop back to normal. But when you look at these trees, you'll see that they're still bent. How are they bent still? The reason why they're bent is because they were in a microwave oven, and that's why. So all the dust and ash that allegedly come from all of this come from the laser ablation of the ground around the mountain. Where's the bark on these trees? Where is all this stuff? It was laser bladed up into the sky, and that's part of what fell down around the place. And the reason they don't bend back is because they were microwaved. And here's Tunguska right there. It's the same thing. They just microwave these trees more in Mount St. Helens, and so they got whiter and more benty than Tunguska. Maybe Tunguska was an experiment.
Tunguska is very mysterious, by the way, because nobody actually researched it. It's a very distant place.
Yeah,
Very distant place.
but isn't it interesting? It looks very similar to Mount St. Helens because I think that's what it was. It was
I
directed
think
energy.
they had a couple of chances to do that, like 3 or 4 times with expeditions for 2 months or more, but actually we're not succeeding finding anything except those fallen trees.
Yeah, I don't. If it was the directed energy doing that, I don't couldn't imagine what you would find.
They were trying to find meteorites or something,
Oh, yeah,
asteroids.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's definitely not true. And there's Mount St. Helen, those same trees compared to a crop circle. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, those crop circles are also mysterious, right?
Yeah, because I think they're done by lasers. That's how they do it.
You can easily calibrate your device. Like you need calibration for any device. You can calibrate it with this stuff and check out the result immediately if it's correct, if it has any fallacies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mud. Where does mud come from in a volcano? But actually, I've made some new discoveries on this lately, which I'll show you here in a little bit. I mean, does it even make logical sense that mud could be in a volcano? How could water be in a volcano? Wouldn't that water have long evaporated out of that magma and lava? How could water be in there? But yet
Well,
they tell us about mud at Mount St. Helens. Oh, look at the mud. He's got muddy feet.
actually, they sell in volcanic mud, volcanic clay, which is cosmetic product.
Yeah,
You can you know trying to make money on that.
yeah.
I don't know. Also, have you heard about mud volcanoes, which are not actually heated, very heated? They're boiling, and that's it. So
Yeah, I haven't looked too closely yet at mud volcanoes. That's on my list of things to do.
we've
Um,
got a bunch of mud volcanoes,
yeah,
bunch of
they're
them.
very interesting. What's going on with those? One day I'll get into that. This is a lava tube at Mount St. Helens. And isn't it interesting that it's called Ape Cave? Like, why is it called a cave? Because that's what it.
Uh, if the lava flows from something, does it supposed to disappear?
Well, for me, if lava was real, it would flow on top of something else. It wouldn't go underground and make a tunnel. How could lava make a tunnel? It couldn't possibly make a tunnel. The amount of force you would need to drill a tunnel, the lava would just back up and flow over the top of itself.
I can think of water making a tunnel, but not lava.
I just don't see it at all. And this is this lava tube compared to hydraulic mining. Now, in the beginning, Philip, when I started doing this, I thought that these like rock formations here on the bottom here, I thought that was created by the hoses of the water. I thought the miners and the way that they shot the water created these formations. But what I figured out now is that that's not really the case. Even though they can be shaped a little bit by water, but those are actually the shapes of electric rock that was there to begin with. And there really wasn't any water that was really shaping these. That's what it looked like in the beginning. But if you just look at this alleged lava tube, it just kind of looks like something else. And what this cave is an electrically created cave. It was not created by lava. It was created by electricity. And of course, that's a whole other topic we can probably don't have time to talk about. But
No,
isn't
no,
it
it's okay.
okay? Isn't it interesting that the inside of this cave, this lava tube, looks like the how do you say that? Rodadero slide,
Rodadero slides,
Rodadero slides.
Casco.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's because both of these are created electrically, and the Rodadero slides is actually a cave wall. That's what those things are.
Yeah, opened cave.
Yeah. And how could, lava just it just couldn't happen this way. Did the last little bit of lava that left the cave go, okay, boys, let's all get out of here. Just don't leave any footprints. Make sure you suck yourself off the floor and drag yourself out of there, right?
Mike Celium7 says laser ablation probably makes a loud sound as well.
Oh, I'm sure there's noise going on when this is happening. I'm sure it's pretty loud. There's no doubt about it. And isn't it interesting that this cave and the slides here in Peru look exactly like this glacier? Because glaciers too, the paths that they flow, it's all done electrically, and these rocks are electrically created. And like lava flows in these electrical formations, so does glaciers, because they're heating this ice, and this is how they get it to flow in the first place. But that's a story for probably another day. But this is kind of interesting. This is, I think somebody just had a flashlight and a camera with an open aperture, and they just walked through it, right? But this basically sort of shows kind of how really the cave was actually made, because it was electricity that discharged through this cave and created the shapes that we see on the walls.
Hmm.
And again, some of this is not in a very good order. This is, oh no, this is Mount St. Helens, I guess. How does boulders flow like lava? How's that even possible? How could you do that? Isn't there friction on the ground? How could that even work?
I've seen a flow of rocks in India. Very interesting also.
Well, you can get a big flow of rocks down a steep hill, but on the ground, I don't know if I have a wider angle picture of that in here, but if you saw a wider angle picture of that area there, there's no way that rock slid along the flat ground that it's on. And you can see this cave here in Iran. It's got that same little ball right there. It's because these are electrical formations. This is Mount St. Helens, allegedly lava basalt compared to iron and steel slag.
Oh, there's a guy from I'm Lord Shri Hara Hara. The Mountain Helens debunk fail. I lived it. Was a legit explosion with preclastic mud flood.
Well, he had the right word, explosion.
There are millions of us lived Mount St. Helens. It was active for several months before finally exploding.
Yeah, that's what people think. But I will tell you otherwise, that it's laser ablation and some dynamite, because that's what it was. Now, something I recently discovered the other day, which blew my mind. Did you know,
Yeah.
Philip?
By the way, if you've seen some mud flow, it doesn't mean it's not what Mike says, because mud is flowing from everywhere. You can drill a hole, leave it for several years, and you might as well have a chance of mud flow coming out. You have mud volcano.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge pressure underneath, is what they say. At least gases of all types of sorts. So why
Yeah,
not?
I mean, there are things going on under the ground. There's no doubt about it.
They
But
even
Philip,
they even call drilling a well. What do you
yeah,
have when you dig a well in your backyard?
yeah,
You have it backfilled with water and mud and all this stuff.
yep, exactly. Did you know there's a glacier in Mount St. Helens?
Never knew.
I didn't know this till the other day. Like this picture, like right there, I've seen that for years now, and I just thought, well, that's just lava, whatever they're saying lava is. And I didn't realize until I was searching glaciers and run across, because this glacier here at Mount St. Helens actually has a name, and it's called Crater Glacier. And I discovered it when I was looking for glaciers.
There's another thing he says. They knew it was gonna go any second, so the state recorded it 24/7. As you were saying, they were recording it 24/7. Why didn't they put a video on? Where's the video?
Yeah.
They had videos since
Yeah.
70s.
They know it's going to blow up, but they didn't bother to put a camera to
Come
capture it.
on, man. Just, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous to
It's
say that.
ridiculous. It's crazy. But what are glaciers, Philip? Glaciers is where snow builds up, and then allegedly it melts, and then it starts by gravity, which we know it's not real, starts to slide down, right? How could you have a glacier in the crater of a volcano? There is not enough room for any. Do you even see any snow really in these pictures? Where does the snow come? Because I don't know if you guys could see my pointer at all right there, but in that bottom left picture, there on the right there, and over here on the left, this is the glacier wrapping around this alleged lava dome. That's the glacier.
So this dirty ice.
It's dirty water, it's dirty ice, it's dirty whatever. It's material being pumped up out of there because there is no place for snow to come from. And here in a second, I'll show you a little video of it moving, and you can see there's more of it. Back in here with a what looks like a mountain, right? How on earth is all of that coming out of there? There's no snow there. It's because it's coming up out of the hole. That is just absolutely impossible. Let's see, where do I have this video? Where is this? Oh, here
So
we
let's
go.
let's just stop for a second.
Okay.
The intention. Who are those guys who research in volcanoes? They're geologists, right?
Or volcanologists.
Yeah, volcanologist is equals geologist, so
Yeah.
just more advanced, I don't know, or more specific. But anyways, they all research geology as main discipline, right? And
Yeah.
what do miners research first? They also research geology, guys. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Here you have this corruption. Okay, go on, Mike.
All right, here's this video here. This little quick video here. And by the way, they kept this glacier secret for 20 years. They kept it a secret for 20 years that was a glacier in there. Why'd they do that? Because they didn't want us to know. Why? How do you explain a glacier in a volcano? You can't. And they don't want us to know. And where is this thing? Okay, here we go. There is no way that snow is coming up out of the sides of those hills. And you can see that snow still there. All right, you get the idea there. They're pumping that stuff out of there. So how's that snow meet up with all that lava in there, right? It can't. It's just flat out ridiculous. I'm going to show you a little bit how I think all that works when we kind of get there. Are we running out of time, Philip?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. I'll try to speed up because there's a lot of stuff here. All right. So, like I talked about before, the ash cloud only, that's the directed energy weapon laser ablating rocks. And the other ways they fake volcanoes is by using TNT. And that would be Mount St. Helens. And the dew was also used there. That's where all the ash come from and all that, and blading the ground around it. And here's another example of where they're just using explosives. This is Anak Krakatoa in Indonesia, and you can just look at it and go, that's a bomb going off, because that's what it is. This is a depth charge going off, and this is an underwater volcano in Tonga. And you can see it's the same thing. And who's always got their camera ready every time, right? I don't know about you guys, but every time there's a big moment, I never have my camera ready. But these people always know when they
It's
have
not,
to.
and it's not some, random camera. It's always some official's camera.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're
You know,
doing this
one
on.
time I was using one guy's footage and he immediately copyright striked me. I was trying to research who he was, and he was the one of the guys who was filming himself inside of a volcano in this
Oh,
thermal suit with this tinfoil suit, He was
oh.
filming himself like he got like 10 million views, I think, on that. So I said, yeah, whatever.
I got something with a guy in a suit. Maybe it's the same guy.
Probably him.
All right. Uh, Here, we're going to get more into that a little bit here. I'll just skip through that. I think I showed you this before. All right, I think we're getting into the part where we're talking about the shooting lava effect. The shooting lava effect is where you get a second of red rocks coming out of the top. And then what they do is they show you this scene in slow motion. Or in this photography, like where they kind of like where I showed you where somebody carried a flashlight through the cave, and if you leave the camera aperture open long enough, it'll create streaks, right? And that's what they do with the shooting lava effect. It looks like this. This is what it looks like. And it just lasts a second, and that is the directed energy weapon hitting that pile of material on the top, and it just kicks it up real quick. And then what they do is they show it to you using camera tricks to make it look
I've seen this. I've seen
to
this.
make
Yeah.
it look like this is really happening. Now there are places where this is kind of happening, like Hawaii, but that's one of I call those places Disneyland spots. Those are volcano Disneylands, but they kind of need to make all the other volcanoes look a little like that, right? So they take a normal pile that that there's a solid bottom in, and they just make this effect, and they pretend, oh, this lava come out of it, but it really didn't. It only lasted a second. That's how they do these pictures. You just keep the camera aperture open.
Time lapse technology.
Yeah, the time lapse, is that what you call it?
Time lapse.
And that is what this volcano is there. It's the same thing. All right, let's talk about this one here. This is an interesting one. This is the Cleveland volcano in Alaska. And you can see this little this brown circular thing there.
Yep.
And you have to ask yourself, how did that get there? Why is that there? Why is it a different color than the volcano is? Because if the volcano is made by lava and that is lava, should it not look similar? How could there be a big brown empty spot in the middle? It can't. It's because it was put there. See, oh, they just discovered it one day. Oh, look, everybody. We got a lava dome that formed. Oh, really? What that is a pile of material creating a pyrotechnic explosion. What is that material? I don't know. Is it charcoal? Is it coal? Is it mining slag? Whatever it is, when heated by electricity, turns red and looks like lava. That's what it is. So here's this thing, right? And there's no video of this eruption because I looked for it and I couldn't find it. And so this is before and after. And then afterwards, you got this thing here. Now, I don't know what this thing is, but it sort of looks like a disc to me, like a big washer. But I can't say for sure what it really is. But what do we notice about this crater before and after? The crater got deeper. Can you see that, Philip, how it got deeper?
Yeah. I see it.
because what they do is they ablate this area and the rock goes up into the sky, and they call that an ash cloud. And all they did was laser ablate that rock up into the sky. And so the crater gets deeper. So is that a big piece of metal? I don't know. But we know they put metal in the bottoms of, like, for example, microwave popcorn. There's, I believe, some kind of metal strips on the bottom of that when it's in the microwave, it heats the popcorn up hot enough to cook fast, right? So is that what this device is? It's possible. But what's really interesting about this, Philip, is in August of 2015, it's here, right? And then the next year, it's gone. The hole got deeper. You got this, what looks like a metal ring in there. And then what happens the next year? The exact same thing is back. The exact same thing is there again. Slightly in a different location. So did the hole where the lava comes up out of, did it go, okay, boys, move it to the right. We're going to come up over here today.
Oh, I see. I see your point now.
Yeah. Notice how it has the empty space in the middle and that little dark brown circle in there. It's still there. It's exactly the same. So what is it? It's a load they placed there. How did they do it? I don't know. Did a craft come over the top of that and dump that there? Maybe. Did it get transported there through a laser with the laser transportation system? That's also very possible. But whatever it is, it's there again, and it looks exactly the same. It's the same shape. It's the same everything. It looks exactly the same. So did the lava just suddenly, if you think about what a volcano is supposed to be lava that comes up hundreds of miles, right? From deep inside the magma, and it rises up through these passageways, and it comes all the way to the top. So I'm supposed to believe that this lava somehow rose all the way to the top, and it just decided, okay, boys, let's shut her down right here at the top of this hole here, right? It's impossible.
What about giant trees? Have you ever heard about that?
Oh, yeah. Long time ago, I believed that. And
Well, Mike Stellium 7 has a question. What if the cinder cones are formerly giant trees, wood cooks rather easily to coal? That could explain the lava tubes, former root systems of big trees.
well, that's a whole long other kind of story. Because, like, okay, what is a tree? Well, a tree, as far as I know, is cellulose. Right? Cellulose is not silicon. So these people that want to think everything's a silicon tree, cellulose is not silicon. So I don't see how we get a tree out of that. I just can't buy into the whole silicon tree thing because it just doesn't make sense. Now, where does okay, since rocks are made mostly of silica, where does silica come from? Right? Where is the material that all the rocks and everything is made from come from in the first place? Well, it comes from biomineralized material, and what that is shells, seashells, certain kinds of algae, and things like that make silica. And I've said before on your shows, Philip, the original ground of the earth was layers of different material, and some of this material was the silica that was biomineralized from these seashells and algae and things. So is it possible that there was tree-like things that were grown and ground up into material and laid in beds and had other material added to it and were electrically discharged to create mountains and things? Yes. But as far as trees growing up out of the ground and then dying and turning into mountains and lava tubes, I I just don't see it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Henman footage where he shows comparison of cedar trees and some rocks, which are very relevant actually. But I haven't found any in my area which look the same. So right now I'm at the point when I see the evidence from him, but I don't see evidence elsewhere. So, and I believe he has some subscribers also who send him some footage from other places. So his place is not the only one, actually.
No, I know there's a lot of people that think this, and I can understand why they would think this. But the
Yeah, but
problem is,
he's not actually sure about the size of those trees, and he's comparing them with cedars. I believe the biggest trees we have right now is redwood in California and Arizona, which are not cedars, but kind of not similar, but some sort of similar. So um, I believe that we had big trees, as probably as big as California and Arizona trees, but at certain point, I wouldn't believe that they were as big as mountains, I would say.
well, I hear you. The problem is trees rot. What happens to a tree when it dies? It rots. It doesn't turn into a mountain.
Like the biggest tree that everybody was presenting, they were presenting the tree stump from Wyoming,
Yeah,
Devil's
Devil's
Tower.
Tower.
Yeah, Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
But then we have people from Mud Fossils University who are showing it as an ankle or something, which was a gigantic guy ankle or something. Muscle tissue is visible there. So a
I
bunch of stuff is could be visible and could be comparable, but you have to have it each and everywhere, not only certain points on only certain places.
yeah. There's
Mike's
a
Mike's things are replicable and acceptable everywhere. As you can see, the rivers form this shape. The countries have this shape. The railroads have this shape. The highways have this shape. I don't know what else. A bunch of coincidences, right?
all kinds of stuff, everything almost. And then to me, that's
So
why this
it's
sort
not
of
contradicting the giant trees, by the way, because we could have a bigger trees than we have right now, or the size of California and Arizona trees, as I said before. But who knows actually what kind of trees could be growing on that aftermath mining processes.
yeah. One of the problems here, Philip, is that biology, human life, animal life, plants and trees and things, they are also electrical, and therefore the shapes that we see in biology look like the shapes that we see in rocks, and that is why everything looks so similar. And so it becomes one of like, what is it? What is it really? And when it comes to the trees and the mud fossil stuff, for me, it's kind of simple. A tree is made of cellulose and it rots. A human body is a bag of water with some minerals in it, and that body rots. I don't see any mechanism whatsoever that will take biology and turn it into silicon, because we're not made of silicon. We
Well,
are.
some people, as I said, not talking about silica, they're talking about giant cedar trees. So they're not saying silica, they're saying giant cedar trees.
I'm not sure what a cedar tree is exactly,
S-
but
s-
or cedar.
s-
Are you saying cedar? A
Yeah,
cedar tree? Okay.
Cedar.
Yeah, cedar. That's I would say cedar. That's what I'd say a cedar tree.
W-
Uh, um, the problem is cedar trees and all trees are not rock made of rock like material. They're made of cellulose. And I don't know about you, but every tree that I've ever seen fall down and sit there turns into junk. It rots away. And what mechanism do we have that turns a tree into a stone? I don't see one.
Yeah,
And
a bunch of examples of ancient petrified tree trees.
Well, if you want to get into petrified wood, all right, that's a whole nother different can of worms there.
No. Everybody says no more tree debate. Just move.
Okay, we'll go on. All right, so that little metal ring, I just call it, maybe that's the ring of fire, because there is no real ring of fire, because nothing ever happens in the ring of fire. We're all still here, aren't we? Isn't some of these old pictures interesting? It's like, what is that? Right?
Yeah, they calling them montes, not volcanoes here.
What is all this stuff? What are these lava domes? Well, I'm telling you, they're a pile of material that they're going to blow up. And that's what it is. And that's what it looks like. All right, let's move along quickly here. Where should we go? Oh, yeah, let's talk about Hawaii, I guess. Now, everybody thinks Hawaii is a volcanic island, right? Like the whole thing is basically a volcano, right? But the truth of the matter is that Hawaii, the island itself, is an electric rock mass. It is not a volcano. It is not made by a volcano. It is an electric rock mass that looks exactly like the hydraulic mining landscapes of California.
Yeah, I had a friend living in Hawaii. She was also talking about volcanoes on the islands nearby, which were flowing into the ocean.
Yeah, we're going to get into that, because Hawaii, like I said earlier, is what I would is a volcano Disneyland. It was set up to be the show place of volcanoes. Because in most places, we never see any of this stuff. We only see this stuff really in just a few places. And every one of these places is always an isolated place. Iceland, La Palma, the corner of Hawaii where people aren't really allowed to go to. When people think of Hawaii, they think of lava everywhere. But in reality, the only place anything ever happens is this tiny little corner over here on the right. Because volcanoes are meaningless. They don't do nothing almost. Unless you live right on it, nothing's going to happen. Because this is part of the whole America's most dangerous volcano. I mean, look at it, all of its historical eruptions. It's right there in that little red square, or red circle. But don't worry, everybody, you're at risk. And there's just some more pictures showing you that Hawaii is hydraulic mining. These are electric rock masses. This is not made by lava. This is the remnants of electrical mining. And like I said, I don't think the hoses really shape these structures here. These structures here are electrical structures. And that's why they look like this. Right? If I flip these upside down, Philip, what do they look like? They're stalactites. That's something I've been doing a lot. I've been going back through a lot of my stuff I did before and flip the pictures, and bam, there it is. These are, like I said, every place in the world was once in a cave, an electrical cave containing a fulgurite, and Hawaii is no different.
Actually, the story about New Schwabia is what the Germans sent their submarines to some new lands in Antarctica. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of those kinds of things. I've never really.
I recently read the diaries of Russian submarine captain who was trying to find that spot where Germans were going to, and they actually found the tunnels and caves underground, and they were traveling there for like a month following the German navigation maps, totally in silence and without any, any other things to look at in the submarine.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
and
like
they
to see,
like found some empty, huge, oceans inside of that.
I would like to see some pictures because seeing is believing. I'm chain
Yeah,
smoking. I'm chain smoking lately.
I'm gonna do that uh, review of that book uh, probably after I get done with the recent debate between vaxxers and non-vaxxers in Russia. I'm gonna translate that. It's gonna be a bombshell. Probably invite Mike Ferreira, not Ferreira, Mike Wilkerson, who is a chiropractic. I don't know. I don't have any other doctors who speak English actually to discuss that. Well,
Look forward to hearing that, Philip.
yeah, go on.
Molten salt. Some lava is molten salt. Not all of it, but some of it. The water, the fire hose in Hawaii, which is this stream that comes out of the side of the
So you're
of
saying
this
that
cliff.
that's a salt? Or
I'm saying that's molten salt,
hmm.
and I'm
Very
not
interesting.
saying that everything that we see that's red that comes out of volcanoes is molten salt. For example, the shooting lava effect I showed you a minute ago, that's not molten salt. All right.
Well, in
It's
chemistry, we call salts a bunch of things. So salts could be including metals, and they can look.
oh yeah, oh yeah. This is what molten salt looks like. I uh, I think the type of salt uh, gives it the different colors.
You made my day. Actually, I never seen a salt molten.
Notice the picture on the right, the color there. We'll see that a little bit later here. Okay, so that's molten salt. They dip stuff in there, like certain kind of things they make out of metal. It's a hardening process. It does something that hardens the metal, and of course, there's different types of ways they do it. And but it's hot, right? And doesn't that just look like lava? Doesn't it look like lava? Doesn't it
In
look like lava?
in Russia, we call leave as long as century, learn as long as century. So
Is
we
that
have to
lava?
learn, guys.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of new things pop out just like this.
All right, let's just take a look at this cliff. Is that lava? Does that really look like lava to you? What is that white stuff anyway? Right?
Salt. It's salt.
Exactly, Philip.
We have it on the different buildings.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's pouring. It's I don't know how it's soaking through the bricks and creating those salts because we have
Yep. Yeah.
cold weather in Russia, and sometimes it's happening.
Yeah. And again, I'll just renew my statement. What color is lava anyway? Because apparently it's at least 8 colors.
Depends on the budget and CGI production skills.
Yeah, look at all that white in there. What is all that white? And why is it mostly over where it's coming out and less over here? What does that tell us? It tells us something. By the way, that's a slag heap at the bottom. What is that exactly? Is it a slag heap, Philip?
It sure is. I was looking at Hawaii like 5 years ago, and it looks like a big mining waste.
Yeah, it sure does.
Look at it in Google Earth, you find out that there's even, traces of big mechanisms of bulldozers pushing huge amounts of soil, cracks and walls and stuff
Yeah.
like this. Everything. If Google is correct, of course.
Yeah, of course. All right, so there's our lava coming out.
Pretty quick for lava.
Look at it. That's the consistency of wet paint. I don't. Yeah, right there. There's the scene I was looking for. I mean, look at it. Is that lava? Or is that just viscous, molten salt? Because basically it's the consistency of paint. Looks like water. That's because it's what it is. Sort of. Like I said, they control these places. I mean, does that picture on the left even look real? I mean, that's ridiculous. Look at the salt on there. They control these places. They only allow 4 boats to go over there because they don't want you seeing what's really happening there.
Ocean vaporation can also maybe
Yes.
vaporize some salt, but
Yeah.
not in such amounts.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be on the other faces of the rocket, only right there where it's coming out? This is a salt formation at the Dead Sea on bottom, and you could just kind of just use your own imagination.
Dead Sea is very questionable place, by the way.
There's
a bunch of stories there.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting place to discuss.
Sulfur can actually do this burn also and can explode.
Yeah.
Have you heard about sulfur?
Mm-hmm. Also known as brimstone. So I see salt coming out of the fire hose. That's what I see. I see molten salt. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. They could be actually slow lava flow like we have right now at La Palma. Also, they can engage in filming such fast amounts of salt.
Yeah, I think La Palma is something different, though. I don't think that's molten salt. But could there be molten salt in there as a component of whatever that is? Yeah. But is it pure molten salt? I don't think so.
You have a color breakdown here, right?
What?
Color breakdown.
Your different salts, different things, give you different colors. And I think that's where the coloration comes from. Oh, you got that color lava flow today at the fire hose? Oh, they're using that salt. Oh, you want a different color? No problem. Because that is what it is.
So it's basically all video production and faking as what they do with these, how do you call food artists or whatever, when they want to fake a huge party during filming the film. Like they do all this fake food everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just all about video production and skills of those CGI artists.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into
special effects. They call it special effects also. Yeah.
Now this stuff here, what is it? Is it molten salt? I don't think it's the same stuff that's coming out of the fire hose. I think it's something different. I think it's a mix of stuff. I think it's a custom mix of like maybe coal ash, fly ash, molten salt, different stuff. Now, what's interesting about the lava that you see that's red and yellow that's flowing is that first of all, it's almost always in a channel where the flowing red material is below the level of the ground that it's flowing in. When lava, and that really should be flowing over the top. Why would it be below the surface of the ground like a river? It can't. And that is because this is electrical, and this electrical discharge that's flowing through here is melting the ground and creating a channel for this material to flow through. And that is why these flows are shaped like lightning bolts. They're shaped like electricity. Now you can make a foundry in the ground and very simple. It's not very hard. You could also create a foundry in the bottom of a volcano by using the same kind of thing. Now, I think they cook it using the directed energy weapon, and not necessarily like there's a big metal foundry or something underneath there. But it's possible. But I think it's all done by directed energy. Isn't it interesting that the lava pool there has the shape of electricity in it?
Yeah, might as well answer that question. I don't know.
It's because it's all electrical. Isn't it interesting that the sulfur vents in Hawaii, the few that you could actually find, it
It
looks
looks
like,
like that volcanic ash on under the microscope.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to say what all that stuff is. Is that volcanic ash that come from a volcano in our lifetime, or is that just rocks that they say is volcanic ash?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So just
All right. Let's look. Let's look at the crater here for a second, and what is it exactly? How does a volcano do these things? Really? It makes cliffs that just happen to look kind of like a quarry. I guess it's just probably a coincidence. And now we got a lava lake in there suddenly, right? What is all that stuff there on the side? How does that happen? Just doesn't.
maybe they were thinking about the future of how to hide this quarry and preparing it during quarry procedures and creating those maybe drills for further explosives or maybe some chemical compounds which could be reacting and creating some fake lava or anything that could be shot from the direct energy weapons, as you say. So
I think the directed energy weapon is what cooks it and heats it, and but a little bit we'll get into when we get into the flowing lava stuff. I'll try to show how I think that works. But most people don't know this. Philip, did you know there's water inside a Kilauea?
never
There's
heard about it.
Yeah, there's water inside of this volcano, just like Mount St. Helens. How's that possible? Isn't that supposed to be lava? But no, it's water. But is it water, Philip, or is it molten salt? Remember, I told you you'd see that color come up again. Because there it is.
Yeah, and that could be actually helping them with steam and these fumes.
If you go back and look at the old stuff from Hawaii, I mean, what is that? Is that lava? Or is that water?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Sometimes it's just too unphysical and
It just doesn't look right.
yeah.
As the technology in the 1950s, they weren't quite as advanced at faking lava as they were in 2018, because now it looks a lot better, doesn't
Exactly.
it?
It's like you watch the movie from the 60s and the remake from 2020.
Yeah,
You see the difference, right?
yeah, absolutely. In 1959, if I just showed you guys this picture all by itself on the left side, you wouldn't think it's lava. You'd think it's water. If I just kind of blocked off the bottom and you just saw this part, you'd think it's water, because that's what it is. It's like molten salt, like water. It's not lava. All right, where's all this stuff coming from? Like, isn't it interesting that, okay, so here's your crater on the right, and you got this structure over here on the left with some interesting looking mining stuff going on there. Looks like leach pads and stuff. It's like, what are they doing, Philip? What are they doing? Why would that place be like, what, a half a mile, a quarter mile from the crater? What are they doing? What are they doing? This is kind of old. This is back when this is before I realized the electrical connection, and I'm just trying to figure out how they get this stuff to go somewhere. I need to erase that probably. And again, you can see right out of the gate, there's the hole in the ground on the right. Already, it's in a channel. How could it be in a channel? It should be flowing over the top of whatever's there, but yet it flows under the ground. And no matter what you look at, it's almost always like that, except for certain other kinds of scenes that I think we'll get into a little different, that are a little different. It's always, even right out of the gate, it's flowing in a channel. Flowing in a channel, flowing in a channel, flowing in a channel, flowing in a channel, It's even got islands in the channel. Philipp, how could there be islands in the channel? Isn't it interesting that each one of these islands, I could take out my red marker and mark these things.
Yeah, just like you were showing.
I mean, these things are obviously in a channel because it's all being kept hot. That's how it flows. Because remember the University of Buffalo, the stuff is hardened in just minutes. The reason it flows is because there's electricity running through it, and that's why it keeps hot for so long. In a channel, cooling off, in a channel, in a channel, in a channel.
So they keeping it heated.
Yes, that's how it does it. Electricity is flowing through there.
Yeah, that's that guy I was talking about.
Now, when the lava dries, how the hell can it look like that? Because it's supposed to be above the ground, but yet it even dries below the ground. All right, California fires versus Hawaii. California fires, melted aluminum from car wheels. Same thing. This is the shape of electrical discharge. These are the colors of electrical discharge. That's why it looks the same. As Australia. Same thing. At first glance, you almost can't tell what is what. California fires. Hawaii. It is the same thing. The lava's not even touching the house. It stopped right there. But yet that house just vanished. And one thing we know about dew fires is that the house burns from the inside out. If lava come up to a house, the house would catch fire where the lava first touches it, and the fire would move away from that spot, right, Philip? But yet, what do we see in Hawaii? The house burning up at the same exact time in all four corners.
And there's the question: electricity or plasma energy?
Are you asking me, is it either or?
Yeah.
There?
What do you think?
I don't know.
I think that it's obviously electricity, because electricity may contain electric plasma in it, because the electricity moves the same properties.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same, I think. Look,
it's just, I mean, Mike, it's just the hype in word plasma, because somebody, I think it was Brian Oster Lambert, something guy, 33. He was having a channel with pay-per-view videos, and he was selling this plasma apocalypse event, and people were paying him for watching these videos about plasma apocalypse. After that, it was spread in the community of truthers, and everybody was talking plasma. I think that's meltdown theory also came after this plasma apocalypses.
Yeah, well, I think the plasma idea, doesn't it come from the electric universe, guys? That everything's a plasma discharge from passing comets and stuff like that. I think
Let's call plasma electricity, most simple and understandable word, and you'll be right on spot.
Yeah, it's, I'm no expert, just some kind of electrical deal, Philip. I don't know the physics of it. I just don't have that kind of background. Again, like California fires, the whole house burns up at the same time. How could lava touching a corner of the house set all the rooms on fire at the same time? Basically, it can't. And here's a closer image of that house. You can see it still has the white debris, like the California fires. You can see that the house basically just disappeared, and you can see the lava didn't even reach the house, but yet the house is gone. This is a very interesting thing I found one day.
Round circle.
I was clicking on a news story about the volcano, but instead of taking me to the news story, it took me to this picture, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, well, what they say in this plasma is causing induction heating. Plasma might be used in induction. Well, we call it induction. We don't call it plasma induction, guys. It's just called induction. Okay.
Yep. So we got this thing here. I mean, isn't that interesting? What is that, Philip? What are they doing there? How come it looks like a volcano? Are they testing volcanoes? Is this a test? Are they planning a volcano apocalypse? Or suddenly are these little things going to pop up all over the place? Oh, there's a volcano, and then they destroy everybody with a directed energy weapon. Isn't it interesting that it looks?
What I've heard for years is Yellowstone, Boogeyman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Yellowstone here in a little bit. There's not much to talk about Yellowstone because allegedly it's a volcano under the ground, so I really, you can't really see much. All right, let's get off of this. Like I said, I didn't sort. Oh wait. By the way, I think you were talking. By the way, a real quick thing on melted rock.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, I don't care what rock you melt. It's going to turn into a glass-like material, and it ain't going to flow nowhere. Melted rock doesn't go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, unlike salt, it's very dense compound.
Yes, you got to work to make it do anything.
Yeah, and look how it turns vitrified. And
yes, exactly. It's hardening in seconds, and that is why lava cannot possibly flow for miles. And that is why there is an electrical current or discharge or whatever you want to call it flowing through it, because it couldn't possibly do what it does, because they can't get lava to flow at all in these experiments. And hell, they'll tell you that lava, the world record is 100 miles. Really? This crap can flow 100 miles when it can barely even last for 2 minutes. All right, let's see. Now, these are the different kind of scenes that you see. This is where you see lava that's not in a channel. But when you see these scenes, you always see them usually from the ground level, where you really can't see it flowing. All you can see is that it's there.
Yeah, it's just like the case with Je suis Charlie demonstration, when all those politicians lined up and were filming themselves as a big crowd, but actually somebody filmed from above and seen that nobody was behind.
Exactly. And that's what they're doing with a lot of this kind of stuff. It's these are set up scenes. And it's like, what is all that? What is that anyway? And allegedly, there's a couple different kinds of volcanoes. There's these shield volcanoes that don't get really tall, and then you got your stratovolcanoes that are the tall, pointy, the pointy ones. And Hawaii is supposed to be shield volcanoes there, where the lava is not thick. That's why it's a small volcano and it doesn't grow into a mountain like when we think of volcanoes. So if that's the case, and over here, the lava is like water, But then somehow, in a matter of a few minutes or 45 minutes or whatever, it comes out of the channel, crosses the road, and it's way thicker and way different. Why is that, Philip? Because it's not the same material. This again is something else they're using. This is more likely going to be your coal ash and stuff like that, which will somewhere I got some exhibits about this. Yeah, there's the lava is inconsistent with this. This is not the same stuff. I challenge anyone to
Yeah,
match.
just take a look, guys. The lava on the top looks vitrification because it was melted
Yeah,
by those scientists, and it looks vitrified and shiny, and
yeah,
it's leveling like water. And this stuff over here, which is supposed to be cooling lava, it
yeah.
looks way different. Way
Way,
different.
way different. It is absolutely not the same stuff as this stuff.
It looks like a preheated, cooked mud, I would say.
It's hard to. I wish I could get a piece of this. I mean, how is this? These two scenes here the same? This is the same place. It couldn't be more than a mile or two away from each other at max. But yet the lava is absolutely different because it's different stuff. This stuff is not the same thing. And like I said earlier, they fake it in various different ways, depending on the kind of scene they want to show you, right?
Yeah, David, that's what Mike's saying. Whatever the methods is needed could be used in video production, as what you do with King Kong movie or Godzilla movie or whatever.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
do it as cheap as possible, as more efficient to threaten or scare the population.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this here is anode paste. It looks kind of like lava, but like I said, what this stuff is, I don't know. It's just some kind of mixture of stuff. This is coal ash. This is what coal ash looks like. And doesn't it look exactly like Hawaii?
Yeah, that's what Mike was saying. Like coal could be burning and glowing red,
Yeah,
right?
coal. Yeah, coal, but will burn.
But it doesn't have to be silicon trees or any other giant trees. It still has to be something more specific
I
to
think
what we can observe.
something that'll burn. These are coal fires.
What
Don't they?
about sand? Can sand be molten? Because somebody was asking me about sandstone. Have you heard about sandstone?
Well, sand can be molten. That's what, like when they're blowing glass. That's basically what that's molten sand.
It's still gonna be vitrified anyway because glass is vitrification is glass equals glass.
Yeah, well, you think about those glass blowers, and they're blowing air down the tube and expanding that
Yeah, my body
base.
was actually glass blower.
That's cool. That glass doesn't fall off the end of that tube; it stays there. It doesn't flow. This melted crap doesn't flow for crap. And I forgot where I was going now, but
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
were talking about
Yeah. All right.
ash, coal,
Yeah,
coal.
you can see these are coal fires here. Don't they look very volcano-like? I remember that little scene in Hawaii where you could see down over there. It's like, well, there it is again. You know, and this is why I think it's some kind of custom mix. They need it to look a little blacker. So they got something else in there. I mean, if you didn't know what this was down at the bottom, you'd think that's a volcano. You know, what is that, Philip? Because there's that salt again.
I haven't seen oil burn. Can oil flow while burning?
Probably, but you don't see flames, right? So
Yeah, oil will be gas flames.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, look at this. This is Mount Etna. I think it's a custom mix of salt and coal ash.
Yeah, because coal is easy to cook on because it's heated and it doesn't have flames at certain conditions, of course.
Yeah. And again, you notice here, Philip, that the lava is again flowing below the surface in a channel.
Yeah, and the coal has white smoke also.
Okay. So which is kind of what I'm thinking a lot of this stuff is it is coal ash.
Because if you cook on wood, wood is burning with moisture. It has like more dense smoke. It's sometimes it's even black type of smoke. But if
Yeah.
you cook on coal, once it's heated, it has like small white smoke, and that's it,
Hmm.
right? Like more pure fuel for cooking, I
Yeah,
would
I
say.
can't say I know for sure because I haven't cooked with coal in a while.
Well, we're doing barbecues on coal. I don't know.
Like charcoal.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, look at all that white up in there, Philip. That's just screams of coal ash and salt to me. I mean, it just looks like it. It's like, all right, is that really flowing lava, or is that a bunch of crap that's piled up there? I mean, look at it. Can you see a flow? Like if you had for $1 million, Philip, which way is this lava flowing? From the left to the right or right to the left?
Can say.
You can't say because it isn't flowing. Because the only lava that flows is in a channel, or it's a cropped cut where they're showing it coming down the side of a parking lot hill or something. When it's out like this stuff ain't flowing. It's dumped there. It's piped there. They're doing something, but there's no sign, any signs whatsoever which way this stuff is going and how it's really flowing because it doesn't look like it's flowing. Just pretend you don't see these pipes there, Philip. Just pretend you don't see them. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. It could be a coincidence. I think that's a farm there, so
That's just the excavator.
are they putting the pipes there to keep the lava from going into the fields? Is that just like a fence they're making with pipes? Maybe. It's possible that there's no connection whatsoever, but I just can't help but think about pipes and where they might lay some pipes and how they might get that stuff to be there.
You might figure it out after two pipes.
What I want to see and what I can't really find, Philip, is where is the transitional zone between the red material in the channel when it comes out of the channel and becomes this stuff? Because I don't see it anywhere. I haven't been able to find where you can see the transitional period between the red lava in the channel and what we see in these pictures right here. And I find that to be kind of a problem a little bit. All right, so let's just kind of cruise through this real fast because otherwise we're going to be here all day. These are the kind of things that start showing you the electricalness to the flow.
Mike's was showing these patterns each and every time.
Yeah, look at that. It's there. And by the way, these islands in the lava, if you study rivers, like I've done a lot of posts about rivers, you'll see these same islands in the Mississippi River look exactly like the islands in the lava. It's because rivers were also created electrically, the channels at least, and that's why they look similar, and that's why these look like the spaces in between lightning bolts. And this is why the lava, when it's flowing, looks like lava, is because it's electrically generated, and that's why it flows this way. All right, that's a cave. I mean, that's almost exactly the same. How could it be? Because electricity created that cave, and electrical energy was flying through it in these shapes. And that was the same shapes that the lava flows in because electricity is running through it. And here's an example of the islands I was talking about. This is the St. Lawrence River. And you can see it's pretty much exactly for all practical intents and purposes the same.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of those islands in Russia. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Just exactly the same. Colorado River, exactly the same. I threw this one in here because it bothered me. Do you really think if someone took a spray can, it took the time to perfectly outline that crack to be fixed? Or did somebody, a supervisor, tell the workers where to make the crack? Here, boys, put it right in there. All right, there's that one crater in Russia there. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen that before, Philip.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that it's all looks electrical? Because that's how lava flows. The lava is electrical.
Yeah.
Even right out of the gate, there's your river islands.
Electrical world, electrical universe, somebody says.
Yeah.
Volcanic ash, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, there we're going to get into the. Yeah, I think I showed you this already. There's just no way that this powdery, dry powder stuff can come out of lava. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is like the volcanic ash there I put on the top. Like where did that volcanic ash come from? Is that just rocks that they found? And they go, oh, this is volcanic ash, and they say, oh, this is volcanic ash, or is this the actual material that's in that brown cloud? Because I would tell you it's not the same. The stuff that's in the brown cloud is I think much smaller. All right, here we go. Now we get into the deeper kind of stuff here. Isn't it interesting that this Hiawatha Glacier is where there's a circle, a hole again? Why is there a hole there, Philip? Because that's where the water comes from. How could a glacier be in the middle of a flat area? Glaciers are supposed to be where the snow from higher elevations is melting and moving down into, right? How could there be a glacier in the middle of a giant flat piece of land? Because that just happens to be where the hole is at. And that's where they pump the water up out of there. And they say, I think this is supposed to be the first glacier that humankind has killed, that we through our global warming crimes, we killed that glacier. But you know what they did, Philip? They turned the water off.
Yeah, just like a big freezer.
Yeah. Now let's look at this. It's the same principles going on here. The few places in the world where lava, what looks like lava, is coming out of the ground, is the exact same setup as a glacier, and they're pumping material out of there. Now, when you look at this glacier, the story of glaciers is the snow is supposed to be coming from other higher areas that melt down and go into a valley and then slide down, right? Where's all that snow coming from? It's coming from a hole in the ground.
Right. There's a bunch of questions to waterfalls and mountain lakes, where all this water comes from. Everybody's saying something like a moisture from atmosphere condensates on the tops of the mountains and then blah 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 blah.
Well,
not sure about that actually. After all,
I think there's a lot of different things going on, but there's plumbing under the ground. The earth has plumbing. If you think about this, I live in Iowa. 90% of Iowa is a farm field. Like literally 90% of the whole state is a farm field. Where does all the rain in the summertime and spring and fall that falls in the snow melt, all the water that falls into these cornfields, where does it go? It goes into plumbing, Philip. It has to. If all the where would all if water absorbed into the ground and just went into the center toward the center of the earth, there'd be no water. It would all eventually get caught up in the ground and go away, wouldn't it? It gets recycled backwards. It takes the water that sinks into the ground in Iowa and different places around the world, falls down into plumbing. It's not pipes, but it would be channels that they cut. Because remember, they built the ground, they built the earth, they built the ground that we walk on. The bottom floor of the whole level of the many different levels of mining that they made had plumbing set up already in the bottom of it. And this water, when the water soaks into the ground, it goes into this plumbing and it's pumped back into different places to then come back out again. It's like an aquarium or whatever. It's recirculating the water. Otherwise, all the water would end up in the ground after a while. So it's plumbing. And how does this plumbing work? Well, I don't remember if I talked about the shape of the earth and what the earth was with you before.
Yeah, last time we
did.
did
We? I think maybe. Okay, we did that. All right. The whole earth, I think, is Piezo powered. And Piezo is basically power that comes from compressing quartz. If you squeeze quartz, you create electricity. If you run electricity through quartz, you get vibration. And what you got here is, I think the ground is set up to that has piezoelectric plumbing, which is basically plumbing that works on its own. You don't have to do anything. And when they decide that they want a water coming out of there, they turn the system on and water will come out of there. If they want lava to come out of there, it's a little bit different of a story how they do it. I'm not quite sure exactly how it works. Where does the heating process take place and how is it done exactly? I don't really know. I'm still working on it. But it's coming out of plumbing. It has to. Something kind of like this.
Yeah, I believe that there is some underground drainage system, at least. So that can be, interpreted as plumbing, by the way, because, what is plumbing? It's directing the flow to certain area.
Absolutely. Okay, I want everyone to close their eyes. Close your eyes and imagine you're standing in front of a volcano. I was just trying to figure out where they might get the soundtrack for all of these. If I played that a little more for you, you'd hear the crystally sound of the glass or the ice crystals melting. It sounds very volcano-like. But we got to be running kind of long here, so let me kind of skim along and see what else we might. Oh, let's talk about this. There's just so much to talk about. We could do this for a week.
Just leave something for the future.
Oh. Okay, let's just do this one last thing since
let's do last thing and wrap up today.
Okay. Did you know, Philip, there's such thing as a lava stalactite?
First time.
Yeah. I didn't know it till I ran into them the other day. I'm like, what? A lava stalactite? Really? How's that possible? But yet they say it is. Like these ones on the top there are supposed to be lava stalagmites. And isn't it interesting that they look like these cave stalagmites? And how does dripping lava make balls that stick to each other like a tree? And how can lava continue to drip like that for who knows how long when lava hardens quickly?
Can't say.
Yeah, because these are electric caves, Philip. They're not lava tubes. They're created electrically, and they're just different material. There's different material than the normal karst cave that you see, or a marble cave. There's different material. And they just call it lava, but technically anything lava, when it comes out of the ground and hardens, is no longer lava. It's extruded, or what do they call it? Well, it's an igneous rock. It becomes a extrusive igneous rock. So these shouldn't be called lava stalactites. They should be called, for example, insert your igneous rock there. It should be something else. It shouldn't be called lava because it's no longer lava once it hardens. It looks just like a cave, even these formations.
I see what you're saying.
So the dripping lava one lava tube. It goes, okay, boys, let's strip the lava in little balls. And then there's this other cave. They go, okay, boys, let's turn ourselves into straws. All right. All right, there you go, Philip. Oh, wait. One last one. Let's talk about Yellowstone real fast, just real quick. Yellowstone on the top. Isn't that interesting? Look at that. That is called Fairyland Basin. It's in Yellowstone National Park. And it is, my friend, a cave.
Yeah, looks like it, by the way.
Yeah. Because what is everything? Every mountain, every rock formation, everything that sticks up out of the ground was once part of an electric mining cave. Everything. Everywhere. But of course they ground up most of it and you don't see it anymore. They just left some of it. Now, why did they leave Fairyland Basin? Maybe they just missed it. Maybe they didn't mean to leave that cave formation there, but they did. Or maybe they left it there to give the people like us clues so we can all fight about it on the internet 100 years later or something. All right, Philip, there's your first blast of volcano truth for you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. It was really interesting. I think many people did enjoy, although there were some critic comments, but it's still a theory. We should be criticized. We should, maybe go back to this chat after the live is done. I'll try to leave those comments so you can read it.
Volcanoes is a tough sell. The problem with volcano truth is people want to believe in volcanoes, especially people that live by volcanoes, people that live in Hawaii and different places. They love their volcano and they don't want it to not be real. And so a lot of people don't want it for that reason. And a lot of people, quite frankly, it's a difficult task to look at all this work and look at all this stuff and reach conclusions about it because there's so much to it. And most people don't want to put that time into it. And I have, and it's just kind of a tough sell because a lot of it looks kind of real, right? I mean, it kind of looks like a volcano in Iceland, right? So it's a tough sell, and I can understand why people are reluctant to do it. But there's so much of it that's just blatantly fake that you can just look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's not real. And so are we led to believe that they fake some of it and the rest of it's supposed to be real? Or is it all fake? And that's where I go.
Yeah, it's detail after detail, droplet after droplet. It's gonna feel the whole theory volume, and we're gonna present it sooner or later, somehow this way or that way. We're gonna get to the answers.
Yep.
I think so. I believe so.
We're well on our way.
Yeah, thanks everybody. A bunch of people stuck around with us for almost 3 hours, guys.
Yeah,
It was a
kind of
pretty
ran
big
kind of
one.
long. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate it.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.